If you're on this website, I'm sure you know that I'm Stephen J. Cannell, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about learning differences or dyslexia, a condition that has affected me from the time I first got into school right up to this very moment today, because it is a condition. It is not something that you can get over. It's a condition like having blue eyes is a condition, or having one short leg is a condition, you know. But it is in a strange way also, I think, a gift, because very often people with learning differences are the ones who are doing the abstract thought, and abstract thinking is one of the most creative and well remunerated things in our society. I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what dyslexia is, and I get that all the time when I'm out and around. People are saying, well, what exactly is it? And the general feeling is that it's basically mere reading or reversing letters inside a word, which of course is part of it. But there are many other parts of the condition, and I'll just run through them quickly. And everybody, by the way, that has this condition has different mixtures of these particular problems. So some people have very strong word reversal or letter reversal problems. Other people, it's not so much that as it is sequencing. Sequencing is that inability to put things in a sequence or remember things that are in a sequence. If your parent says to you, go upstairs and pack your book bag, clean up your room, make sure you get your history paper in your binder and come down because we're going to go to school, the child will go up, say, go upstairs, clean my, what was the other one? Yeah, I mean, it's like that whole sequence of events is very problematic. Even today, when I'm memorizing lines, for instance, for an acting role, if I have a line that has a sequence of events where my character has to say, first I'm doing this, then that, then this, then that, or something like that, and you get those lines occasionally, man, those are tough for me. I mean, because those sequences just won't stick in my head. That's one of the problems. Another thing, is recall. The reason for the untimed test, the reason that we're constantly saying that dyslexic children should get this untimed test, is that they have difficulty with recall. And what this really comes down to is that most people, when they're cramming for a test for school, they stuff all that stuff in their short-term memory. And we all have, or most people have, very good access to their short-term memory. And jump right in there and pull it out again. And dyslexics, on the other hand, don't often have good access in their short-term memory. And it's very similar to that feeling that you get when somebody comes to a table and you're sitting there and you're trying to introduce your best friend all the way through high school, and that instant you can't get the name. Well, the reason you can't get that name is that we very quickly file names and information of that nature that we know we're going to keep in our long-term memory. And you got so much stuff in there that you sometimes can't get your mind on the right file card. The problem with dyslexics is they have that same difficulty in their short-term memory, and I can remember it. I mean, when I have that name problem, when I'm trying to remember somebody's name out of my long-term memory, and I can't, it's exactly the way it was when I was sitting there and, in that test, trying to take the test, and when did Columbus discover America? Oh, God, I know this, it's right on the tip. I can see the picture in the book, it was written right under the sailing ship, and you can't get to it. So if then the idea being that you can take an untimed test, you can go ahead, you can answer other questions, and when you come back, when did Columbus discover America? 1492, you know it immediately. And that is the same thing that happens often when your friend leans the table and the pressure is off. Oh, David Smith, you immediately know that name. So that whole concept of recall is a big part of it. Right-left can be part of it. Some dyslexics have a lot of difficulty with right and left. Like, to this day, I still don't know the difference between my right hand and my left hand, or my right side or my left side. So when I'm getting directions, it's a mess. I have to constantly go through the same sort of mental exercise. I know that this is the hand I write with. I know I pick up a pen with this hand. I know I'm right-handed, and therefore, that's my right. So I have to go through that every time I'm trying to decide right from left. And then there are other parts of dyslexia that, like dysgraphia, which are really not dyslexia but are related in a way, dysgraphia being having more to do with the way you perceive and see things. But the thing I guess that we need to remember is that this has nothing to do with intelligence, has nothing to do with IQ. Very often dyslexics, because they speak well and form their thoughts well and make a lot of sense, will hear that they're not applying themselves when they're not getting good grades in school. I got that all the time. Steve, if you would just apply yourself, you would do so much better. Well, that wasn't the problem. It wasn't application. It was all these other things that were defeating me.